Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it a second chance might just change your mind.
Here, we take that chance for you, and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot, Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be Centaurworld.
So do you want to tell the audience about how you're a horse girl?
We've mentioned this before. I don't know if we need to rehash it. But sure. Look, I believe as a young child, you have a bunch of girls that like horses, hence the typical horse girl. But I also find you have a lot of young boys that like dragons and shit. And honestly, dragons are just fantasy horses with the way they're treated in books. With the way they're treated in books, especially ones aimed at young children, they're the same creature. One just flies and occasionally breathes fire. And the other one runs and also occasionally breathes fire.
You know, you mentioned how they're treated similarly in movies and books, and my brain immediately went to, man, I actually would love to see a How to Train Your Horses like movie. Like that, please.
Yeah, see, your brain made an easy comparison because you're like, yeah.
That movie could just be about horses.
Yeah, but no, I read like all the spirit books and all that shit when I was younger.
So, I bring it up because this show's main character is a horse.
The main character of the show is indeed a horse, and it's all about getting back to her horse girl.
Yeah, her horse girl. More commonly known as Ryder with a capital R, because that's her name. Her name is Ryder, and horse's name is Horse.
Yes.
I like this approach to, like, naming conventions. It's very Samurai Jack.
Yeah. It's also very much like, again, novels for like younger children where it is a non-human main character where a lot of things are just kind of named what they are.
Yeah, like Owl, or Rabbit, or Tigger, because Tigger is a Tigger.
T-I-double-ger.
Okay, so Centaurworld's actually a Netflix original show from 2021. And episode 1 is entitled, Hello, Rainbow World?
Hello, Rainbow Road.
My note was wrong.
Which seems like too positive of a greeting for Rainbow Road. We all know it's trash and no one likes it. It's one of the worst maps in Mario Kart.
I love N64 Rainbow Road.
I'm thinking of like the remakes that are always like, this is the N64 Rainbow Road, and they change it slightly and it annoys me. That's right, I'm old and grumpy now.
Yeah, anytime they take Rainbow Road and are like, hey, let's remove all the fencing that protects you on Rainbow Road.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
I'm like, no, the purpose of Rainbow Road is to be long and annoying.
And that one section where the fencing disappears, you're slightly annoyed at. But the rest of the time, you're just like, it's never gonna end.
Also, the fact that they took out the, like, jump shortcut. Anyways, so this show starts with a gate being knocked down as a woman riding a horse runs through it.
Like a castle gate, but
yeah.
And it's rainy, and our color palette's mainly like browns and grays.
And we get a voiceover about an ongoing war and how war never changes.
War never nays.
God damn it.
That wasn't even a good joke.
No,
I
it
said
wasn't.
Something dumb.
It wasn't a good joke. That's why it cracked me. I expected like an actual joke, and then you cracked me with this like bait and switch.
Yeah, boy.
So, I thought this voiceover was Ryder, but Justice has astutely pointed out to me that it's actually Horse, because we hear Horse's voice later. This horse talks. This is a show with talking animals.
One talking animal and then talking nightmares.
That's a generous way to put it. But yeah, so this is Horse talking, which means Horse lost her parents to the war.
Mm-hmm. Which honestly makes sense.
And war is all she knows.
Yeah, and
she's only ever known war.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she has an artifact that's shaped like a horseshoe.
Yes, the general sent her and her best friend,
Ryder.
Yeah, in the narration, obviously, no, it's Ryder again. It's acknowledged that they are best friends. And so the narration's like, my only friend. In this case, Horse's only friend is Ryder.
And Ryder's only friend is Horse.
Assumedly, we don't know that. Ryder may not feel the same. Ryder might just be like, yeah, this is the third fucking horse I've had during this really long war.
This is the third roach.
Honestly, I want this children's show to take that turn.
To be fair, is it a children's show? I know, like, on the surface level, it's a children's show, and I know it's classified as a children and family show on Netflix, but, like, is it? Is it?
Yes? Yes, maybe. Yes, sure, why not?
Anyways, the artifact was hope. That's an important line of dialogue. Voiceover.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's the key to vanquishing the invaders with a capital I.
Yeah, so
invaders.
That's what the general says. They show back up to the village where they're supposed to meet the general, and he's not there because, assumedly, hopefully, I guess, they make that assumption before they actually check, but the village is on fire.
It's gone. Village gone.
Yeah.
General dead. Village on fire.
So the horse rears back and neighs in fright, fear.
We don't know. We don't know General is dead. That's an assumption. Sorry.
And then we get a song from Ryder.
Because she sings it to calm the horse down.
Yeah, she says, "It's fine, you're okay," and that's where my brain went, well, that's a different voice than the narrator. And then we get a song about how it's going to be okay, you're going to be fine. As they travel through the village, the burning valley, and then they seek shelter under.
The valley is not burning. It was the village that was burning.
I mean, technically, it's causing some of the surrounded area to burn. I assume there's some shrubs and stuff on fire. That's part of the valley. It depends how much you consider what we build to be part of the environment around it.
But the art for this show so far is very, Avatar-esque. It's got that, vibe to it, especially the writer's design. She looks like Korra.
Yeah, she looks kind of like if you put Korra in actual, armor and then made her,
not a terrible protagonist.
Yeah. And then the show has a more solid color palette. Yeah. By which I mean there's not as much shading and stuff in Korra, but more akin to, early Avatar.
Yeah.
Or even kind of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power,
which is a great show.
Not the color palette choice so far, but just the finish on the art.
Which is a great show that you can go and listen to. Episode 28 of Copilots Review, we reviewed She-Ra and the Princesses of Power.
Honestly, haven't watched more of it. I still want to go back and watch more of it.
Show looks great. I need to watch more, but there's so many shows and things I need to watch. Currently, I'm binging Doctor Who.
Yeah?
But we'll save that for the 12th.
We're not going to save that for the 12th. You're going to forget about it, and I won't remind you.
I will probably have caught up on Doctor Who by the 12th.
And you'll have forgotten about it by the time we go to record for the 12th.
Yeah, so
the song ends when they're getting more into a straight canyon, and it ends with I believe it's an arrow that impacts a rock next to them.
I want to be really clear. The geography here makes no sense.
Cliff down to village, through somewhat into a canyon.
I mean, because the canyon is a canyon, but then it comes to a peak.
Yeah, it's a deeply scarred
ramp.
I mean, I was going to say it's a deeply scarred surface area with, deeper canyons. It's not that weird in the realm of fantasy world.
I was just thinking about it, and that's kind of weird.
I mean, yeah, they go from one cliff down into the valley, and then they have the canyon walls around them, and then they end up on a cliff. It's actual other areas of cliff, and then there's another larger canyon.
I'm mainly just talking about the canyon leading to the cliff point.
Yeah, I know.
That's weird. But like you were saying, the song finishes when an arrow flies past them and thunks itself into a tree or a rock.
I thought it was a rock.
A rock, yeah, it's a rock. There's no trees here. There's no trees here.
And then we see that foolishly, they have wandered into a canyon when they know that the village was assumedly just attacked.
I don't know. I think when you're the sole soldier left and you have nobody with you and you're carrying a precious artifact, you don't walk into
you don't walk into traps. Canyons like that, they're obvious traps. Your brain just goes, let's avoid the canyon.
We're going to go on the left side or the right side above the canyon, but not the canyon itself because we're not stupid. Oh, wait. I don't know if Ryder's stupid. That's unfair. I think she might have been mourning.
Probably mourning, yeah. But we see a bunch of enemy forces all along the walls of the canyon.
And it's really hard to tell how much of the invader is armor, how much of it's manufactured armor versus how much of it is, natural.
Yeah, they have, a dark gray armor and horns on a helm.
And then there's, spots of their armor that's, brown fur that, could be, video game barbarian armor where,
hide armor of some sort.
Where, it has fur between the metal. Or it could just be their furry things.
Yeah. And then we have several of them jump and slide down the walls of the canyon to attack them.
And chase them. Mm-hmm. And they run on all fours when they chase.
Yeah, so they reminded me of bugbears, honestly, after they started perambulating.
Perambulate.
To walk or move.
Oh, I know what the word means. It's a funny word. It's not as funny as the creator of the show's name. Sorry, Megan Dong.
Megan Nicole Dong. Yes. Oh, wow.
I'm a fourth grader, and there's 100% a reason why she includes Nicole in her name like that.
Yeah, probably.
It's similar to why I always include my middle initial in my name. That's because I'm breaking up the alliteration, because alliteration's stupid.
Yeah, it is. I do the same. Anyways, though, so they're being chased and they take off running, but they are briefly slowed when a line of these invaders, as they're called according to Horse. The I, when they were talking about the invaders earlier in the narration, was apparently capital. I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
And here we get some, like, actually really good combat animation. There's not a large, long amount. But what we have is quite good.
I could have taken more combat animation.
Right?
It also reminds me of Samurai Jack.
Yeah, and also kind of, again, of Avatar.
This show has Samurai Jack and Avatar in its lifeblood, and it really upsets me that in 3 minutes that's not true.
Yeah. Not that it gets bad, it's just a tonal shift in a moment here. So they manage to get past the line blocking them in the canyon, and they get chased to an edge of a cliff.
Yeah, and then one of the invaders takes the mace they wield, because they wield it's like classic war maces, and like just fucking chucks it at Ryder.
Like from a distance, one arm just throws it.
Your DM would be like, it's not a thrown weapon.
And like, I'll give it to you on a nat 20, and they just fucking like rolled that shit, and they're like, I got it. And the DM's like, fine.
You dismounted the rider, knocked the horse down, the artifact went skittering.
Mm-hmm.
Good job breaking the game. Maces aren't thrown weapons.
So Horse gets back up and charges to pick up the relic in their mouth, because that's kind of the only way a horse can pick things up.
No, they can like use the space between their hooves.
Not yet, they can't. Tonal shift hasn't happened.
They could use both hooves to pick it up.
Again, not yet. Tonal shift hasn't happened.
They could put it inside of their belly.
That's centaurs. That's different. We'll get there. And so Horse takes off to pick up the relic.
And an invader charges after.
Yeah, Horse manages to knock the invader off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, like shoulder checks that invader.
Yeah, honestly, this horse is kind of dope.
Honestly, this horse is like human level of intelligence.
Yeah.
And would be your best companion as a soldier. Jesus Christ, this horse is like, yes, I understand. I will fight invader.
Yeah, it's like I think they're like Rismith horses in the Stormlight Archives, like the best horses, but they have to choose you. Which makes me think Brandon Sanderson is also a horse girl. The horse has to choose you. That's dragon stuff getting into your horses, bud. You like horses a bit too much.
I was thinking it was more like unicorn stuff, which unicorns are just fancy
Unicorns
horses.
are fantasy horses, which means, again, dragons are leaking into your horse girl stuff.
Unicorns are just horses with party hats.
Exactly. So Horse manages to grab the artifact, but also Horse is moving really fast and is near the edge of a cliff.
And turns out hooves,
not great for stopping.
I mean, they are great for stopping. That's literally why they
that's
why horse have hoof. Good at stop.
True.
I also Englished really bad there.
You did. But Horse does manage to stop in time and goes tumbling over the side of the cliff.
So the issue is, Horse is a proper name, and it feels weird to say it.
Yeah, I get you.
But yeah, Horse goes tumbling over the edge and falls to horse death.
No. Maybe. Maybe the show is just a
death dream.
Death dream, baby.
But no. Ryder manages to catch the thong of the artifact, because the artifact's on a thong.
A leather thong, yes.
And Horse has the other end of the thong in Horse's mouth.
Uh-huh.
And Ryder
is strong as fuck. Do you know how much a horse weighs?
This is like a Captain America pulling the helicopter feat of strength.
Yeah. Like, assumedly Horse is a war horse.
So, like, 1,200 pounds-ish?
1,000 to, like, 1,200 pounds, yeah.
Big ol' horse. Big ol' horse.
No, don't get us wrong. Ryder does not succeed in pulling Horse up.
And Captain America doesn't succeed in pulling helicopter down, but it's still impressive as fuck.
The artifact starts to glow.
And then pulse.
And then we get, like, a blast from it in, like, a, there's a word for what I wanted, but I don't remember what it was anymore.
My brain does that a lot. I was going to say it starts pulsing black and white.
Well, there's a word for, like, the way something pulses out in a circular shape. It's mainly used to refer to, like, the sun or things like that with light.
Coronal ejection.
It literally looks like a coronal ejection. That's actually what I wanted to say.
Man, sometimes if you just, like, spitball it long enough, you'll figure it out. And sometimes you'll spend a half hour Googling a term to realize that it doesn't describe what you're actually thinking about.
Yeah, we'll get there. That was for this show. We'll get there. And so then after the light, we start doing interspersed cuts between things. We have a cut of Horse tumbling into the depths. Then we cut to Ryder
as the invaders close around her
with like a despairing no. It's not yelled or anything, but it's like
no.
Yeah. And then the invaders are behind them in a flash of light. And then we cut back to Horse falling, and then back to Ryder's eyes
And there's invaders above her with maces pulled up.
Yeah, we get like a zoom in on their face, and then when our next flashes, still, it just pulls back, and it's just a mace coming down towards Ryder.
And then there's a flash of bright white light.
And then it goes completely black.
And then Horse opens her eyes and is like, Ryder, Ryder, and is looking around.
They call it out in panic. And, you know, objectively freaking out, but understandably so. Because, one, no idea where Ryder is. Also, there's this weird color palette going on now. Everything's bright.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
bright
brown.
and clean, as Horse will later describe.
Yeah.
And also, everything is shaped like a centaur. Tree, centaur. House, centaur. Mountain, centaur with a booty.
Yeah. It's weird, man.
Also, the person standing in front of Horse, centaur. Kind of.
Giraffe man. GM squared. My boy GM squared.
Giraffe creature thing? Giraffe centaur thing, that's what I was calling it.
Yeah, it is a giraffe on the bottom half, okay? Human torso, giraffe neck, human face.
It's the...
specifically human face because it still has the rest of the giraffe head.
Yeah, it has ossicones.
Uh-huh. It's just specifically you've removed the giraffe facial structure and slapped a human face on it.
Ossicones, little antlers on a giraffe are called.
Yep, or an okapi.
Ossicones. They are the only two animals in the world that are part of the Giraffidae family.
Yep.
Which I guess is signified by having ossicones.
I would assume so, yeah.
If you have ossicones, you're Giraffidae.
Yeah. So the giraffe creature thing says, hello.
First they both scream.
No.
Oh, okay, you're right, yeah, sorry.
The giraffe says hello. Horse screams, which is the correct response to seeing a giraffe man, centaur thing. And then the giraffe man, centaur thing also screams.
I like how you're combining giraffe man with giraffe centaur thing. Thank you.
Inclusion matters.
The best part of watching shows like this is
not getting names.
When we need to signify a character before we get names, and we just come up with determining qualities. For instance, I named this character Giraffe Centaur Thing, GCT for short.
I named it Giraffe Man, or GM squared for short.
Giraffe Man, Centaur Thing.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so they both scream, and then Horse calms down for a second and is like, wait, did I just talk?
Wait, did you understand me? Wait, I can talk. Why am I talking? And then Horse screams again.
Well, Horse goes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
GCT says, yeah.
Giraffe goes, yeah. And then takes a deep breath in and just screams in Horse's face again.
Yeah, and then Horse screams and then bolts.
So, yeah, while she's bolting, Horse is upset because the world is so clean and colorful and lacks soldiers.
And doesn't smell like smoke and fire and death.
Which, I love Horse. I love the juxtaposition of Horse in this world.
Okay, so I was briefly on the Centaurworld Wikipedia at a point, because I needed to know what one of these creatures is supposed to be a centaur of. Mm-hmm. And I hit the trivia section, and apparently part of the pitch line, according to the trivia, for the show in general, was just, what if Brienne of Tarth met the Muppets and was stuck in a Muppet world?
To be fair, that's a totally different show.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a totally different show. But I feel like that show can't exist because you don't have rights to Brienne of Tarth and the Muppets, so you have to make it somehow different. And apparently you do that by making Brienne of Tarth a horse and the Muppets weird centaur creatures.
I'm just imagining Brienne of Tarth transmorgified into a horse now.
Yeah. So,
That's the plot twist of the series, is after they assemble the artifact and Horse gets transformed back into Brienne of Tarth.
Yes, sure. Anyways, though, so as Horse runs off, we zoom in on James Squared's face, because I don't know why, but we're going to do that a lot. The show really likes
it's because
his face.
They put a lot of effort into making his face creepy, and they wanted to capitalize on it every chance they could get.
Yeah. And so Horse is zooming off, doing horse things.
Mainly freaking out about the lack of war.
And then as Horse is running, she runs past what I guess called a fish tar, Mum and her child.
Hey, you forgot the house that Horse passes?
Oh, yeah.
That is shaped like a centaur, and the door is right where the poop hole goes.
Yep, not a fan of that design. Feels like poor design philosophy, but whatever. And as she runs past, the kid asks the fish tar mom, what that is. And she's like,
freak.
Probably something weird. Also, she runs past an apple centaur? It's just an apple that has legs.
She doesn't run past the apple centaur. They gallop together. for a short while.
I disagree. I think she's running past it.
No, it's running alongside her. It's like...
And it also
turns and apple
almost
grace.
Screeches at her.
Yeah, because okay, so imagine this. You're a centaur. You live in a world of centaurs, and suddenly there's a half centaur running around. That's terrifying. That'd be
True.
That'd be like if you were walking around on Earth, and suddenly there was a person running around, but they were just legs and a head. They had no torso. Like,
that'd be hilarious, though.
That's what it is. The horse just doesn't have a torso.
Yeah, true. But as she's running, we see a weird chihuahua-looking, possibly okapi, zebra, chihuahua, centaur fusion thing. I didn't know what it was.
I called this Mutant. But we get Mutant's name really quickly.
It's Glendale.
Yeah. Glendale has with him, a muscly bird. A muscly bird
named Ched.
We don't get Ched's name.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we do in either of these episodes, do we?
It's not. Ched doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
You cheated.
I mean, I learned that from the wiki again.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so she runs into Glendale.
Almost runs into Glendale. Bells, and then tries to, like, take off towards a bush, and a zebra centaur steps out of that.
Zulius.
Yes. And then Glendale, the weird thing, just starts freaking out, and this is where we meet the bird. It swoops down and is like, remember your words. And
my favorite part here is Zulius and Glendale both like freak out, and Ched, this little bird monster, because it only has 2 legs, it's not quite a centaur. This little bird monster who's like super buff is the voice of reason right now. He's like, hey, calm down, everybody, calm down. Like, and then they all start trying to harass and pet and touch.
Yeah, Gene 2 shows up. And it's just like, I didn't even get to say hi. And he's approaching, she just starts, gritting her teeth and glaring at him. And she's like, back off, I'm a trained warrior. And he's just like, something about your face doing that and being so long scary.
I just want to touch it. And then they'll start touching and harassing the horse.
Zulius at a point, she's like, where are your arms?
Again, because this is a centaur that has no torso.
No. Zulius, though, here, asking the real questions. And as they're all freaking out about that, somewhere in there, GCT is just like, I'm gonna hug it. And then they all start poking and prodding and attempting to hug horse.
And then a llama centaur interrupts them, and her name is Wamawink.
Yes. And she's just like, stop that. This is our new friend.
It could be our baby. Well, not a literal baby. Like spiritual baby.
Well, maybe not a spiritual baby, but a metaphorical baby. And as Wamawink's being weird with that. And her face is going through different art styles.
It's our baby. We can coddle and care for it and take care of it. Oh, it's a new friend. I'm so happy to have a new friend. I'm going to be an overbearing mother.
Yeah, and as she's doing all of that, Glendale's just like, hey, Wamawink, you know that...
The best part is...
metaphorical baby you were talking about?
If you watch, while Wamawink is the foreground and the center of all this, you can watch horse, like...
slowly, exit the scene.
Like, lift its leg and do, like, the sneak walk. Stage right until it's off screen.
Then it was just like, that metaphorical baby you were talking about ran off. And Wamawink's like, wait, what?
Also, it told us it needed to go find its rider, whatever that is, and get back to the war.
And said a lot of other words that I didn't understand.
And Zulius is like, it also said that you were just a lot. Like,
their words.
Their words, not mine. I love Zulius.
Yeah, and Wamawink was like, what? Glares for a moment, and then just like jumps/rockets through the sky and lands on Horse's back. And then Horse is like, what are you doing? This is crazy. What's going on? And we get a song.
Because that's the thing we haven't mentioned yet. This show is a musical.
Yeah, it wasn't just the one song from Rider to Horse about how you're going to get through it. No, Wamawink leads a song about how they are centaurs, and this is Centaurworld, and what's a better way to represent all of that
with singing and dancing.
Yes.
The really important part of this song, because most of this song is just establishing Centaurworld, the really important part of this song is Glendale has a line where he's like, we were at war with the invaders. And then how, like in that Disney movie that I'm blanking the name on, Encanto, how they, like, anytime somebody goes to mention Bruno, they do that to Glendale. They grab him, cover his mouth, pull him away so Glendale can't talk because nobody mentions the war.
Yeah, it's literally, I mean, technically, sure, we were at war with a ruthless horde of invading warriors, and then I think it's Zulius grabs them from behind and starts dragging them away. He's like, shh, we agreed to not talk about that.
Which... headcanon for me, the centaurs solved their invader problem by sending them through a portal to the real world. Well, world. The world Horse and Rider are from. And that's why Horse and Rider and all those people have been at war with this invading force.
Honestly, makes sense to me. Yeah. The song's base idea is, hey, it's fun here. We're weird centaur things. We're extremely codependent. And it makes us really happy to be codependent. And it's fun. Fun never ends.
Well, so you say that, but like Wamawink is the one that's like, oh, we're codependent. And everybody else is kind of like, yeah, it's fun to be like, they say it's fun to be codependent, but like they're not enthusiastic about it. They're not like actually.
And then the song ends with the lines, fun never ends when you're living in Centaurworld.
And Horse runs off again.
Yep.
But unfortunately, Horse dropped the artifact.
Yeah, and this is where we learn that Glendale really likes to take things. It makes them feel.
Glendale's like, if they're not coming back for that, can I have it?
And Woma's just like, oh, they'll be back. And we see Horse running off down a rainbow road.
Just like booking it. Clop,
and then
clop, clop,
face
clop.
first into a barrier. And this is when I realize it's not just magic letting Horse talk. Also, has to have structured and strengthened those fucking legs. Because a horse running straight into something like that, it's gonna break a leg. Not gonna stop. Horse has extremely fragile legs. And none of these attempts, because we get a long run of attempts of Horse trying to break through a barrier,
because
does Horse break a leg.
It's a full dome. Mm-hmm. I think the most interesting part of the dome is it seems to be sentient, at least in some way, because it sometimes reacts to Horse's attempts
in a similar way. Like Horse tries to use a lance to get through, and then the dome just forms a giant fist and punches Horse.
Or like in comical ways, like Horse goes to do something at one point, and the dome just like sprays everything away with water.
Yeah.
Dome's just like, nah, not taking this shit, go away.
So Horse trudges back, and she's like, how do I escape the dome?
Well, at one point, Horse is knocked out by the wall and sees a vision of Ryder.
Yes.
So then Horse goes and talks to the centaurs.
And Wink's just like, with magic! And Horse is like, what is that? What's magic? And then we get a song about magic.
All centaurs have magic. Horse doesn't know what magic is.
Their magic might be silly, but they love their magic ways. Because, my friend, my listeners, they've got spells for days.
So we saw an instance of magic earlier and we didn't recognize it when Buffbird at one point was like, but can you do this to Horse, and turned his face into like the Giga Chad face?
8 seconds of handsome face. That is the magic. It has a name. We go through a list of some of the magics they have. They have shapely mane, which just makes their mane look nice.
Okay.
Zulisk seems to be able to seems prehensile almost.
Okay.
We get sparkle blinkies, which is them blinking and they have little stars popping out from
I
their
remember
eyes.
seeing that. Yeah, okay.
They're called sparkle blinkies. We have handsome for 8 seconds.
In case you're wondering, Justice just has the lyrics to the song. That's where he's getting the spell names from.
Stretchy neck times.
Which, to be fair, does Giraffe Man Centaur thing need that?
No, but I assume that's how we get those shots of his head coming in from the top of the camera.
Yep. That makes sense.
There's also wobble legs, which we see them all just standing on extremely wobbly legs, which according to them is always a winner. Mm-hmm.
Giraffe Man's name is Derpleton, by the way. I just remembered that. Derpleton.
And also, he's voiced by Josh Radnor, who you may more likely know as Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother. He shows up briefly in How I Met Your Father, I think.
No, there's no crossover between those shows.
I don't know. I don't care either. How I Met Your Mother. But How I Met Your Father, you could also listen to our episode of. And anyways, though, back to their weird magic, which assumably from the way they talk about it can do anything, but they need to list these spells, which assumingly are just, to me, implies things they do more often than others.
You forgot Tummy Portal.
I was getting there.
Okay.
We got Portal Tummy.
Oh, sorry.
And Prehensile Eyes.
Portal Tummy does exactly what it says on the tin. It opens a portal into your stomach.
Mm-hmm. We also have Prehensile Eyes.
Also does what it says on the tin.
Mm-hmm. And we know that Derpleton, when he blinks, can change the spots on his neck, or torso, horse torso, giraffe torso, into pies.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't catch that one in the show.
Yeah, they don't turn into physical pies, they turn into spot depictions of pies. We have, when he says that, he starts blinking, some of them turn into slices of pies, some of them turn into full pies. I think one turns into the pie symbol.
That's funny. That's a good joke.
And also, they can all shoot tiny versions of themselves from their hoofs.
Yeah, Wamawinks is the first one to do this, and it lands in front of Horse, and Horse is like, okay, but where do they go when they're gone? And Wamawink goes, none of us know. And the tiny Wamawink runs off screaming in terror.
It has an existential crisis. We zoom in on it when it first gets made, and it looks around, its eyes widen with the realization of what life is. It says something, I don't remember what. Screams in terror and runs off. And then they all make one and do the same thing.
and they do this on a regular basis. There is assumedly just a tiny society of thems out there plotting their revenge on the larger thems that brought them into the world.
I would assume so.
God, I hope that's an episode plot point later.
But after the song, Horse realizes, oh wait, the artifact relic, whatever I'm calling it, is missing, and Glendel's just like,
Wamawink is like, Glendale, give it back.
yes, and Glendale gives it back and apologizes and says, theft's the only thing that makes them feel good.
You say she gives it back, but where does Glendale keep the
Tummy
artifact? Portal? Yeah. Reaches into their stomach and pulls the artifact out.
Yep. And Wamowink's just like, I'm sorry for my herd, but they're great. They're good, but they're a bit weird. And I was just like, yep. I have to get back to my rider. Could we do something about
the dome issue?
Or, anything about getting back to my rider?
And Glendel's like, yeah, there's these things called shamans. And the entire time Glendale is talking about the shamans, Wamawink is like death glaring.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, there's 5 shamans.
They live outside of Centaur Valley.
Yeah, one of them could probably, help you with that. And the horse is just like, well, how would I find them? And Durberton's like, oh, that Rainbow Road? It goes all the way around the world to places. I don't know where.
We've never left the valley. Also should be mentioned here that the bird actually has hooves.
Yes, he is a finch-tar.
Is that
He's a finch.
He's a finch?
Apparently.
Weird. But yeah, so the entire time they're talking about following the road, leaving the valley, Wamawink is death glaring everybody, and there's a strong vibe that while Wamawink is definitely the leader of their herd, they're all actually prisoners belonging to Wamawink.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way.
It definitely feels like Wamawink is in charge of a prison.
So Zulius explains more about it. Doesn't really explain anything the others don't. But Horse is like, yeah, cool. We should go then. And Wamowink's like, why? It's fun here. It's great. We have no reason to leave. And Horse is like, really? Because you said you did this, all of this every day. This song. All of the spells. Just
to jump back to the magic song.
Yep.
There was something I noticed. When Drippleton is using magic that isn't self-directed, like tummy portal or spot changing.
Yeah.
He targets his magic by using his ossicones. They glow.
Dope.
They glow and yeah.
But Horse is just like, I don't think it's as fun and that you're as happy here as you try to say, because seems like it'd be pretty boring to do the exact same thing every day, always stuck in this valley.
And this starts Horse and Wamowink's rivalry, which I assume will play out through the remainder of the show as well.
I would think so.
Whereas Horse is the embodiment of free will and self-reliance, and Wamawink is the embodiment of
the overbearing mother?
And crippling codependence.
Yes. So Horse is trying to convince the others to leave, not necessarily Wamawink, by being like, don't you want to feel the wind in your man? And to explore and go out in the world and crush skulls under your hooves. And up until this point, they had all been agreeing.
And then only Drippleton agrees to crush skulls.
Drippleton's like, yeah.
Horse then jumps into a song, which is Hello to Rainbow Road.
They're all looking at Horse. She's like, I can't believe I want to do this.
She has to clear her throat because she's a little horse.
Continues to clear her throat, and I think it's Glendel's I bet she has a beautiful singing voice. This is going to be the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
I should clarify, she's not a little horse. That was only intended as a pun. She's actually a full-grown horse.
I feel like our listeners got that, bud. Seems kind of...
Explaining the joke makes the joke better. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. But then Horse sings a song called Hello Rainbow Road, like you said, and it's basically just yo, this road goes all the way around the fucking world, and this planet is filled with other centaurs. Why are you just sitting here doing the same thing day in, day out?
Should also mention that the refrain of Hello Rainbow Road is actually the chorus line from Ryder's song at the beginning of the show.
You're okay. You're all right. And then it has a slight abbreviation because it's, I'll find you there beyond the light.
Yes. Yep.
We also have a pre-chorus that's follow the colors and lights of the roadway.
That ends the show. We go into the ending theme.
Yeah, they all line up.
They get out of the dome, yeah.
They all line up at the dome. Magic starts to surge around them. And then Wamawink looks at all of her friends, / prisoners. And she's just sighs, touches Horse, holds out her hand, and then they dispel the barrier. I am convinced that Wamawink set up this barrier around them all, obviously.
Yep.
And I don't think this barrier was going to come down unless Wamawink caved.
But yeah, then we get the ending theme, which starts out okay, kicks it into a bit faster, nice little, beat, and then turns into a weird-ass Old West-style jig.
Yeah, lots of cowbell.
A little bit of a letdown considering how good the music of the actual show is.
Yeah, I would argue it's still good. It's then just after the point you should have pushed the skip button from the Netflix credit options.
Yeah.
It lets you know you should have hit the skip button. Not that it gets bad, it just changes tone fast and weird.
It knows it's a Netflix original. It knows it doesn't need to have an end theme.
Yeah.
So Justice. Centaurworld.
This is a weird show, but it doesn't feel weirder than a lot of other like children's show properties, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, no, I get what you mean.
And I don't dislike it, but I want more Rider action where Rider is kicking ass. That was really good animation. Or I want animation along that quality. Like, all this animation, the animation throughout the show is still really good, really fluid, but it obviously has a different style. And I'd like to see a bit more of a return at some point to the more action-styled, like, animation like we're doing in, like, the first 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the show's good. And at this point, yeah, I'd watch episode 2.
So, this show has a charm to it.
Yes.
That is hard to describe because it's so fucking weird. Like, you said it's not, like, any weirder than other kids shows, and you're kind of right. Kids shows get, like, weird to, like, television's in your stomach weird, but this is a particular level of weird.
Yeah, it's like Adventure Time weird.
Adventure Time at its weirdest weird.
Not at its weirdest weird, but weird.
Yeah, the show's okay, though. I would probably not watch episode 2. I would probably, if I was watching this casually, go Google the show and see if we're going back to the Rider world at any, like, significant portion of the show. And then if there was more than, like, a 3 or 4 episode arc in the real world, watch the rest of the show. But if we're just sitting in Centaurworld, I'm not coming back.
You know what? Understandable.
That's what I'd do if I wasn't watching it for a podcast. But because I am watching it for a podcast, I
Onwards.
watched episode 2.
Fragile Things.
The episode opens with a herd running through the forest, and Zulius trips over a log.
Well, like, it starts with Wamawink, and Wamawink is clearing the path for the herd is what's going on
Yeah.
there. And then Horse charges past Wamawink, causing a bit of a mess on the road, and the others charge after Horse.
And then Zulius trips over a log and smacks his face.
And Wamawink's like, oh, and starts to sing the song, Fragile Things.
Yeah, Wamawink's like, you gotta watch where you're going, be careful.
One careful step at a time, please watch yourselves as you go. And it's all that you're like, hey, you gotta be safe. We're really, really fragile, soft, and small, and we get hurt pretty easy.
And we've never been out of the valley, and it's filled with so many dangerous things. However are we going to cope? We have to rely on each other.
And as Wamawink
I'll protect you.
As Wamawink is singing this, Horse, like, glares at Wamawink, and Horse cuts in and starts saying, oh, I never feared the drums of war. I crushed the skulls, and I want more.
Horse's song, and Zulius calls this out later, Horse's song, fucking banger.
Yeah. Horse's first chorus, which undercuts the whole, like, fragile thing, is just, it's the, oh, I never feared the drum of war as I crushed skulls. While you're hiding in the fringes, I'll go out and get my vengeance. You can all be fearless too. You can fight for yourselves. You're all right by yourselves, because you know only you can protect you. And Wamawink's like, no, we're all just small, fragile things.
So Wamawink continues to freak out, sing her side of the song, and then, like, while Horse and Wamawink are actively arguing, Zulius goes, yeah, but Horse's lines were just much more appealing.
Yeah, there's literally a line in the song, though, where it's literally, they're both singing at the same time. See, this is why I should be leading the way. Because they have that, who's the leader argument, basically.
Yeah.
And I think the song itself lets us know that Horse is supposed to be the winner of this song argument, because we end on Horse with the, oh, I never heard the drums of war, I crushed the skulls, and I want more line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Derpleton falls down.
Yeah. And so, well, they've kind of agreed that Horse should be the leader here.
Yeah.
They all realize they don't know Horse's name.
Mm-hmm.
And so they take turns trying to guess Horse's name.
Yeah, they're doing this while they're taking a small break on the Rainbow Road for Glendale to use the bathroom.
If you take a break on Rainbow Road, you'll never get first.
Yeah. More on your Zulius pointing out that Horse's duet, because at a point while he's like, did you not listen to my song? And Zulius is like, well, it was more of a duet.
Yeah, this is there's a musical term for when there are multiple melodies competing by different vocalists.
And it's a fugue, but it technically applies for 3 to 6 parts, I think is what I found.
And this is a duet, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a duet in the style of a fugue.
Yeah.
That said, I spent a half hour nearly breaking down in tears because I couldn't remember the fucking word fugue.
And he knew it.
I knew it.
Yeah. But like you said, yeah, Zulius points out that it was a duet. Horse was more compelling, and his reasonings for why Horses was more compelling, because it had notes of figs and murder. Yeah, murder. Notes of figs and murder.
I get the murder. I don't hear the figs.
Neither do I. But so they're all trying to give Horse a new name or guess Horse's name while also doing bathroom breaks. And the bathroom is obviously a bush off the side of the road because that's,
my favorite is Dirpleton's like, no, I don't need to use the bathroom. I'm fine. And like has his legs crossed.
Yeah.
Like holding it.
Well, I like how Zola is like, I don't need to use the bathroom. And then Glendale pops back out of the bush and is just like, they have a giant mirror in here. And Zola is like, oh, I'll be back. And yeah. We also, by sound, assumingly, there's a toilet, a sink, and a hand dryer all in the bush.
Yeah.
Also, we learned Chet is racist against horses.
Yes.
Because he expresses he has problems with Horse, and it's just like, Horse is like, why? And he's like, you're a horse.
But yeah, Horse's name is just Horse, just so we know. They're all getting ready to leave, and Dribbleton's still sitting there cross-legged, and Horse is like, you can go to the bathroom.
He walks in because he's a giraffe. His neck sticks out of the bush. And we're there for like 2 seconds, maybe. And then his head just slowly turns in like a horror fashion. And he just goes, I'm done. And then we cut to them further along the path, and they are now approaching a scarred, burned landscape.
Well, while they're approaching, Wink tells them that she has a deep history with the shamans.
Yeah, and then Glindo's like, yeah, she was in shaman school. Top of the class.
Top of the class. And Wink's like, well, maybe not top of the class.
But I was pretty great.
And then somebody's like, wait, a horse is like, wait, why aren't you a shaman then?
And Wink's like, well,
it was,
due to an inability to continue schooling.
She's like, no, she doesn't say that. She's like, it was just a furthering education thing. I wasn't like actually going to be a shaman. It was just extra credit hours, essentially. Like making excuses for why.
Mm-hmm. And then they get there, and Wink does want to continue, has a bad feeling about it, and Horse is just like, well, the shaman's this way, we gotta go. That's where you said the shaman is, right?
And Wink's like, yes, but I could sometimes see the future, and there is danger ahead. Don't you remember that time I predicted that you'd have a pimple over your eye, Zulius?
And it was a really bad one.
And Zulius is like, I have never had a pimple in my life. I do not know what you're talking about.
And then Glindo's like, yeah, and it scabbed and it fell off, and I didn't know the scab Bernard. And
it's really good that your name's not Bernard, because if your name was Bernard Horse, it'd be very confusing.
Dirpleton's the one that points that out, because apparently Dirpleton also talks to the scab. And apparently the scab is giving advice. Because at a point they talk about how centaurs should keep their promises because...
That's later, but yeah.
I know, but that's a
Bernard actually, that's
line.
right now, too.
Because, like, right now.
Yeah.
Because Horse is like, well, if you don't want to go, that's fine. I'm just going to go off by myself.
And Dirpleton's like, remember what Bernard said? A centaur always keeps his promises. And we promise to accompany Horse to the shaman.
Yeah, so they're all sitting there debating whether or not they should keep their promise. Basically, the others are like, hey, Wink. Hey, Wink. You promised.
Can we go? Wink.
Please.
Horse is going. Can we go?
And so they catch up to Horse, and we see that there's a tornado forming. But Horse is like,
no, it's not a tornado.
No, we don't know that yet. It's a tornado. And Horse is just like, it's just some wind. Oh no. And charges forwards while yelling in excitement.
The rest of them haven't followed Horse yet, but they eventually talk Wink into following, so they all follow Horse now. And this is where Wink goes, it's not a tornado, it's a tarnado. Because it's a centaur-shaped tornado.
Yeah. It has a horse body, and then it just kind of stretches into a tube towards the top and up into the cloud level.
Horse sings a refrain of her part of the first song in this episode.
Yeah, because we get the song Tornado.
Yeah, then Tornado gets a song. Yeah. The tornado is apparently a living creature with thousands of souls encompassing it.
I don't think it's made of 1,000 souls because of the lines. So it says, come to us, you will be ours, in the skies, forever, won't let you go. Don't leave our side, how will you hide? And it's just like, you can't escape us, but...
I'm pretty sure there's a line that specifically said, you're made to be one of the thousands of souls.
Well, it says, you are now one of our thousands of souls we've taken and lifted above.
Oh, okay.
Which makes it sound, I'm not sure if it's saying you do become part of them, or if it's literally like, yo, we've killed thousands of people.
Well, tornado talks in a plural, so I'm assuming that you become part of tornado if tornado...
Yeah, you know what, that makes sense.
Yeah.
During all of this, they're all trying to run through.
The artifact gets torn off of Horse's neck.
So does all of Horse's armor, because we've already mentioned this. Horse, as a warhorse, has been armored through all of this.
Glendale catches the artifact, and Horse catches the thong of the artifact and is like trying to pull Glendale back in. And in a scene that's very reminiscent of the scene where Horse falls off a cliff, Glendale gets sucked into the tornado.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then Wink comes to the rescue.
By shooting miniature versions of themselves into the tornado to knock Glendale out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I would like to point out, though, during that, so Horse loses the artifact, because it's important for the argument later. Mm-hmm. Glendale, in the song, has the line, shiny boy, to which Wink says, Glendale, no, and Glendale's like, Glendale's next line is repeating the line that Horse has been singing through all of this, which is a repeat from the Rainbow Road, which is from, not Rainbow Road, beginning of this, which is, don't worry, you're safe with me now, to the relic. Glendale's like, ooh, shiny, grabs, don't worry, you're safe with me now.
Glendale is like half a step removed from Smeagol.
Yes, exactly. And then Glendale gets poured into the tornado.
Womawing frees Glendale, and then all of the herd forms up and forms like a barrier.
Forms up, and Womawing forms a barrier around them, is what I got from that, because it's a pink barrier. Womawing seems to be the initiation of it.
And then the barrier ball filled with the herd rolls towards the tornado.
And
Horse just like back mule kicks that thing right into the tornado.
Up through the back of the tornado, which seems to be the kill shot, because the tornado dissipates.
Yep. So, tornado's dissipated. They've got out of the desolate valley. They're in like more forest now.
Yeah. And Womawink and Horse get into an argument.
Because Horse wants to continue on, but Womawing's like, no, everybody needs time to rest. They almost died.
You don't care about us. Like, one, you kicked us in the tornado, and Horse is like, yeah, but that worked.
It's not you don't care about us. It's you don't care about anybody but yourself.
Yeah, but their specific argument initially is Womawing's like, look at Glendale. Glendale saved the artifact for you. And now they're all shaken up, and Horse is like, let's be clear here. Did not do it for me. Glendale took it because it's shiny, which the lyrics of the song back up.
Also, Glendale's personality backs up. But no, I'm only clarifying that because it becomes an important aspect of Horse later in this episode.
No,
that
I'm
it's not
aware.
that Horse, like, Womawing accuses Horse of not caring about anybody but Horse itself, but Horse does, and that's actually Horse's entire motivation.
Yep. So they all just kind of separate and go their own way. The herd goes one way, and Horse continues on.
Yeah.
Their argument concludes with the accusation of Horse being selfish and only caring about themselves, and Horse being like, you only care about mothering everyone and protecting them and not letting them actually do anything that they want to do.
Yeah, you only care about being overbearing and burdensome. And so Horse and the herd separate, and Horse is lost, and being lost goes to sit down
and sings the song, What If I Forget Your Face?
You're skipping stuff. We need to sit down on the leaf, because Horse goes to sit down on the leaf.
Yeah.
And the leaf is actually a baby leaf centaur. Baby leaf tar.
I don't know, man. It doesn't have multiple legs.
And the mother leaf tar is like, you almost set on my kid. You almost killed my kid. Could you imagine if I almost killed your kid, how you would feel?
And Horse is like, well, first I'd have to imagine having a child, and then I guess maybe not good.
And then mother leaf is like, you're just selfish and only care about yourself.
Yeah. And hops off, and Horse is like, but I don't.
There's also a centaur here who has a bag.
It looks like a weird ocelot centaur.
And Horse is
he
like...
has a purse, and she goes to get directions from him. Horse is like, do you know about the Rainbow Road? And the weird ocelot centaur is like, my grandpapa got his purse stolen by a Rainbow Road once. Do not take my purse, please.
Yeah, it has a German accent for some reason.
Apparently his grandfather got robbed by a Rainbow Road, and it took his purse, and he's just like, I care about my purse, don't take mine.
But yeah, so the point is, during this time where Horse is alone, once again accused of just being selfish and only out for herself, and then this is where Horse sings,
What If I Forget Your Face? And during the song, it's mainly just Horse running around the forest, and there are green phantomy images of Ryder.
Yeah, and it's all about, like, what if I can't get back in time? What if I forget who you are? What if you don't remember me?
What if I change a lot?
What if I forget your face?
Yep. And Womawink overhears all of this.
The entire herd overhears all of it.
Yeah.
And, like, the herd, when Womawink's not paying attention, are all like, oh, like, that's so sad.
They are also doing the backup vocals.
Whenever Womawink isn't paying attention.
Yeah.
As soon as Womawink turns to face them, they all
choir
stop.
cuts out,
Yeah. Because all the songs in the show are canon. They
Yes.
are all happening within the show.
So the song is all about that. It's just like, yeah, what if I'm too late? And then the song ends with a repetition of Womawink's lines from Fragile Things. It ends with, one careful step at a time, for you and I are fragile things.
And
then Womawink cries.
Yeah, Womawink cries because Womawink realizes Horse isn't selfish. She isn't out for herself. Horse's entire motivation is getting back to her herd, getting back to her version of a herd.
Yep.
Her family.
Yeah. And Horse ends their song by laying down and going to sleep. And then we start our next scene with Horse having a nightmare, calling out for Ryder, saying no, freaking out. And then is woken up by having a giggle cake shoved in their mouth. It's a pancake. It's a pancake. I don't know why it's called a giggle cake.
No, it's a giggle cake. It's a pancake created by Centaur Magic. It's a giggle cake.
Is it created by Centaur Magic? Do you know that? We didn't see if they cooked it or not.
Yeah, it's created by Centaur Magic. I know this because the Centaurs don't have the ingredients with them to make pancakes.
You don't know what giggle cakes are made of.
I also don't know what they're storing in their stomach pockets.
Also, maybe it was just stored in the stomach pocket. Maybe they never actually eat their giggle cakes. They put it in their face and then pull it out from their tummy pocket, their tummy portal.
But yeah, so Horse is like, this is really good, because there was a line earlier
about Horse never eating breakfast.
And here Dirpleton's like, maybe you should eat breakfast sometimes, huh? Maybe? Yep.
Well, when Horse is happy about it, they go, okay. Dirpleton and Glendale both tear up. They're like, yeah, breakfast, because they seem to be under the assumption that Horse was never given breakfast, assumedly here, is how I take their reaction. They both tear up in the background where Horse is like, breakfast.
So One Wing tells Horse, I get it, you're not selfish.
I could never imagine not
being with my herd, my family,
and like struggling to find them. I understand it's difficult, but we're gonna do things my way from now on.
Before One Wing gives the ultimatum, Horse actually apologizes. Yeah. Horse apologizes, and One Wing's like, "Okay, cool, we'll help you now, but we're doing things my way this time."
Yeah. So now we get them all walking and explaining stuff, and at a point, I think it's Dirpleton who's just like, "No, it's Zulius." Just like, "So what even is a rider?"
And Horse goes to explain what a rider is, but fails to like get the meaning across, and then like tries to explain what reins are. And at first Zulius is like, what do you mean they make it rain? I thought you said there was no magic in your world.
Well, yeah, so Horse is explaining, it's just like, yeah, they would ride on top of me, and then Ched's like, they would stand on you? That's ridiculous. And we zoom out, and Ched is just standing on top of Dirpleton's head.
Because that's how Ched gets around. Ched doesn't fly or go walk.
And then Horse is explaining the reins thing. Zulius makes his remark. And as Horse explains reins, Horse realizes, oh my god, I don't have my armor or my reins. I'm naked.
Well, I'm in the nude. And Dirpleton goes,
I'm in the nude.
Then Dirpleton goes, we're all in the nude here.
And then chuckles darkly.
But no, like, Horse goes to finish explaining what reins are. And she's like, put them over my head and then they can control. And like, everybody goes, yeah. Because they're all like, oh, it's a fetish thing. I get it.
Yeah, I guess this is.
Oh, no, that's 100%.
I did not get that joke.
That's the implication.
I guess that makes sense here. And
which again, this is a children's show, Justice.
Yeah.
But I guess if it went over your head, it would go over a 6-year-old's head. Like reins.
Yeah. And then Horse sees what they assume to be a human shape and says, rider, and charges after it.
And then they all follow after
Wamawink commands her herd to follow.
And Zulius trips over a log and bashes his face in.
Dirpleton this time.
I thought it was Zulius again.
It might be. I thought it was Dirpleton. I might be wrong.
I thought it was Zulius because it's like a framing device for the episode.
It honestly could be. I may have just gotten the wrong person. And Wamawink goes, carefully.
And that's the end of episode 2, entitled Fragile Things of Centaurworld.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on episode 2 of Centaurworld? Fragile Things. Actually, what are your thoughts on Centaurworld?
Well, we'll do Fragile Things first and then go to our thoughts on the 2 episodes combined. It's an episode.
Yes.
It's actually like, I was trying to like think of a positive thing to say about it. And like, I love Horse's song in this. Horse's part of...
Also, Tornado's song.
Tornado's song is also good.
Honestly, all 3 songs.
Yeah.
Good.
The songs in this episode are really good. The plot is very, nothing, like, they all grow closer together, but from point A of the episode to point B of the episode, nothing actually changes.
Honestly, removing the songs, you remove a decent amount of runtime from the show.
Yeah.
But, like, it does work to further the story beat that they need to, because they do need to bring everyone kind of together, because they do have that division there.
Yeah.
Somewhat. And if you're going on a journey at any point, it's fine to have low levels of...
Yeah, so, like, the episode doesn't have, like, any overarching, like, stakes or anything.
Yeah, it's literally just setting up for how do we make this journey feasible? How do we resolve party tensions? It's the GM going, okay, you've all met each other. How the fuck do I get you all to go on the journey together?
So...
And the answer is by having you fight a giant tornado that is a centaur.
Definitely a higher difficulty rating that they're up against, challenge rating.
That's why it just built.
Yeah, not a lot happens. This episode's fine. The music's really good. That's the best part about it. I just want more of Rider's World.
Understandable.
Otherwise, yeah, it's a fine episode. Again, by the end of episode 2, I'm in the same place I was at the end of episode 1. I need to know if we get more Rider's World, like as an overarching story arc.
Yeah.
Because if not, this show doesn't have the thing I want from it.
I would assume we
That
do.
said, we did watch the trailer because we watch trailers for shows. We don't cheat and like look at spoilers.
Unless we accidentally stumble across them.
For instance, I found out by accident that the invaders were Minotaurs, which means they are from Centaurworld. They probably are the original invading force.
Or there's a Minotaur world.
And Minotaurs figured out how to break through the worlds, and they are the Phyrexians of...
Yeah, who knows?
But like, that was an accidental spoiler I found. But
that also changes
the trailer,
nothing, really.
The artifact that Horse has is like one of 4 or 5 parts of artifacts, probably 6 parts.
6 parts.
He's probably the shamans each have 1 part.
Yes, and there are 5 shamans.
Yeah. And once this relic is put back together, at least in the trailer, it seems to resurrect like a centaur or horse lich.
Yeah.
And like that alone like makes me go, kind of want to watch the show. So
Yeah.
like the trailer, along with like finding out that there's more Rider World stuff, would lock me in.
Look, from what I've seen of the trailer and from the way the show has approached its tone, to me it seems like one of the things I like about children's shows, especially more modern children's shows, of course, where it's, hey, we have to do the standard almost, look, the show's for kids, and then give us like 4 or 5 episodes. Okay, now we're allowed to tell you a story. Let's go. It's going to get dark, but we will occasionally do weird things, so your parents will still think it's a kid's show.
You were Googling something about the show, and you read a byline for the show that was like, Centaurworld, a perfect little children's show until the body horror starts.
Yeah.
And I was like...
Yeah. I was looking for the song lyrics, and that was a thing from Polygon, I think.
Yeah.
Accurate. So far, at least.
But yeah, so that's where I sit on it.
I would watch more because I can deal with the weird, goofy thing. It's not that bad. And honestly, I think it's a show I would easily put on in the background and like half pay attention to.
Yeah.
Until it starts to get more serious. Like,
it's
and then
like
I would
season
actively
1 of
pay more
Adventure
attention.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, we have to do more of a kids thing, but then we're going to get more serious. And the show does have 2 seasons. And I have to assume the first season kind of wraps up, assumedly, the base thing here of reuniting with Ryder.
It has 2 seasons and it only came out last year. Like, it had a quick turnaround in season 2, which implies either Netflix was like, yes, or like Netflix ordered 2 seasons to begin with, maybe.
I actually found something about that when I was looking at things. Because I was surprised by the turnaround on the seasons too, so I was just like looking up the season stuff. Apparently, Centaurworld season 1 and 2 were originally created as one season. Like it was pitched all as one season, and then pandemic stuff happened, so they got their time split up and things got weird.
Makes sense.
So they just turned it into 2 seasons, and I don't know if that means they fleshed it out more or added more episodes or got it to higher episode count, because it looks like 2 full seasons. It looks like Netflix 10 episodes, I think, a season.
Yeah, 20 episodes total for this.
Yeah.
I think.
So it looks like either they were given a 20 episode first season, or they flushed things out, and when it came time for the first season to be done, they're like, hey, Netflix, we already have all this stuff done on your dime. And Netflix was like, well, you got a second season then.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works.
It's got 20 episodes divided into 2 seasons. Yep. I'm interested in watching more of it, actually. Like, I really want more Rider World, but that, anyways.
Do you want more Rider World, or do you want more serious, like, lore things added?
A lot of column A, a little column B.
Okay.
A lot of column A, about 50-50, actually.
Okay.
Because I just enjoy, like, the fighting animation from Rider's World. Like,
Agreed.
that looked really...
It was really smooth. It was really nice. It was crisp.
Yeah.
It had great action.
But then the lore implications of, like, the centaurs sending the minotaurs into Rider's World.
Possibly, yeah.
And then, like, something to do with the Lich. Like, the lore implications here are interesting.
I would agree.
Yeah. Am I a pony girl now, too?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
No one is.
There are no pony girls? Horse girls. Sorry.
Yeah. None of those.
Fair enough. Am I a horse boy?
If you want to be, I guess.
I mean, I don't want to be. Like,
then no.
Because I feel like horse boy is, like, half step removed from a brony, and I have nothing against bronies in particular, but, like...
But, like, you actively have decided you're never playing the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic card game that's apparently really good.
Yeah, I've heard from people who aren't My Little Pony fans that it's roughly as good as Magic the Gathering, if not quite as good.
And I feel like you're afraid because you've heard that statement, and then you've also heard the statement from other people. It's like, My Little Pony is actually good.
Yeah.
You're just like, if I like the card game, I might watch the show. If I watch the show, I might become a brony.
And there's nothing wrong with being a brony.
But they have a horrible culture around them, and they've done some terribly disturbing things in the past.
It's just like, I enjoyed the Harry Potter books, but I will never, ever, ever, ever call myself a Harry Potter fan, because that has implications that I don't want to have.
I think the main problem is literally just letting fandoms define you, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, like right now I'm binge watching Doctor Who, but I'm not a Whovian.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing that I can think of where my brain goes, I'm a diehard member of this fandom.
Magic the Gathering, hello.
I'm not. Like, I can think of nothing. And I think that's the main problem with anything. When you get down to that point, it's just like, if you let the fandom become a defining feature of your life, or define who you are, and especially if it's a fandom that is often changing, because that's when you get, I think, a lot of toxic things popping up, because it's, well, I don't want this to change, or I'm focusing heavily on this one specific thing here and combating here. That's when you get fandoms that are really, like, against themselves as well.
Right, okay,
like
so,
Star Wars fandoms. Think about how much they hate each other and themselves.
I think the common rule of Star Wars is you can't be a Star Wars fan unless you hate Star Wars.
Yeah, but you have people who then actively fight about what to hate about Star Wars and hate each other in the fandom.
I think we're a little off the rails here.
Probably.
This sounds more like a interstitial conversation. That said, would you watch more
I
Centaurworld?
already said yes.
Okay. Me too, with caveats.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Centaurworld, a Netflix original show, which means everybody in the world has access to it because everybody in the world has access to Netflix, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Currently. Until Netflix changes their password sharing thing, and then we all have to get our own accounts instead of using the same account.
Yeah. Look, guys, when Netflix does that, I am changing the password. You're gonna have to get your own Netflix account. I don't mind you guys using it, but like Netflix is gonna start charging me for you guys using it, and it's gonna be a lot.
Anyways, if you want to get access to that Netflix password, or suggest shows for us to watch, or talk about the idea of toxic fandoms, you can reach out directly to us in a myriad of ways, including, but not limited to, our email at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
You can tweet at us on Twitter at copilotsreview.
You could hang out in our Discord and talk to us, which you can find a link to that at our website at copilotsreview.simplecast.com. That website also includes links to our email, our Twitter, our YouTube, our Discord, but not the second hidden email that is over a year and a half old and still has no messages in it. You guys aren't doing the work. You guys aren't finding the hidden email. It's not really hidden. We're very obvious about it in that episode. But What episode is that?
Who knows? I don't remember. And also, it has a link to our Patreon, where we have some bonus content that you can give us money for.
Yeah.
All of the money.
And
that money really just goes to paying for our, again, shared Netflix account, everyone.
Our shared Netflix account, the myriad of other fees that come with running a podcast, because who knew it was expensive to make a podcast?
Weird, right? Anyways, though, thank you guys, and please fly again soon.